As the world emerges from the pandemic, life is starting to go back to normal. However, we continue to see empty shelves and frequent out-of-stock messages, reminding us of the persisting supply chain disruptions because of geopolitical uncertainties and a looming threat of another variant that may spread globally. In 2022, industry has had to realign its business approach to work in the new normal. Join us on 15 and 16th of September 2022 at Novotel Hyderabad Airport for the Cold Chain Unbroken 2022. 4 sessions on new airport infra, new routes and new initiatives will bolster pharma and perishable trade for the country. Pharma 4.0, digital technologies driving disruptive changes and smarter data could help reduce losses. Latest legislation on dangerous goods, perishables and regulatory framework for air and ocean. IMO 2023, how to prepare for the coming changes and the need to know more. Cold chain for agro, where we are and what more can be done. Control tower, supply chain of the future. Active and passive packaging, what's coming in the future. Challenges created by counterfeit medicines for the supply chain and end user. Telangana emerging as the pharma hub of Asia. To request an invite for the event, visit www.ccub.co.in.
With that, I would like to welcome all of you all of you have joined today. And for those of you who do not know me, I am Tariq Ahmed, editor at Logistics Insider, and you are watching the curtain raiser of the most anticipated and one of its kind event, Cold Chain Unbroken 2022. Standing at a value of INR 1585 billion in 2021, the cold chain market in India is poised to reach INR 3600 billion by 2027, exhibiting a CAGR of 14.72% during 2022 to 2027. To discuss and deliberate on the segment's growth opportunities, existing bottlenecks, innovations, and technology, we have, and as well as to facilitate purpose-driven bilateral dialogues with a new age cross-border supply chain venture in partnership with Logistics Insider is hosting the Cold Chain Unbroken 2022 at the Novotel Airport, Hotel in Hyderabad, Telangana on the 15th and 16th of September. This event is undoubtedly going to be an extravaganza with many names coming on board to make this event super successful. The show will witness the participation of supply chain heads of pharmaceutical, food and FMCG segments, government bureaucrats, policymakers, heads of various international and domestic airlines, airports, seaports, cold chain operators, technology companies, trucking companies, packaging companies, NVOCC, ICDs, CFS, you name it, and they all are joining the show. The global event for the pharma and perishable logistics segment will bring global industry leaders and veterans together and serve as a breeding ground for new ideas and possibilities. This goes without saying that the highlight for the CCUB 2022 is going to be the thoughtfully crafted panel discussions, which are handpicked by our eminent panel of board members. To give you a glimpse of what to expect from CCUB 2022, I would like to call on screen Mr. Satish Lakkaraju, Global Head Air Freight and Pharma from Wizz Freight. He is the man behind this premier event. So welcome to the show, Satish sir. Welcome to this curtain raiser. I'm sure you have a lot to talk about this event, and therefore I request you to take the reins of this virtual event, and I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you so much, Tariq. Pleasure to be on the curtain raiser. I think there's a lot of hard work that's been going on for the last couple of years and on the cold chain unbroken event as such. But the CCUB 2022 comes in a larger backdrop of what has happened in the world during the pandemic. And I think the importance of the cold chain has been proven beyond doubt, given the fact that the vaccine transportation in the world, the food transportation in the world, in the background of rising temperatures, has become more important and more persistent. Why CCUB is so different from the rest of the events is CCUB is not only a global event, but also is an event which covers every stakeholder in the unbroken supply chain to really be present there and to participate in sort of it. It's very rarely seen that you have all the stakeholders contributing into the event with their inputs, which is resulting in creating a larger visibility sort of it. And critically, for all of us to understand that over the years, India, in the background of the vaccine manufacturers, the pharmaceutical manufacturers, being based out of India and helping the world, Hyderabad becomes the location which was chosen for the event as well. And Hyderabad has been one location which has also been looking at adding more infrastructure towards the development of the pharmaceutical industries, and which is why we are looking at various topics that have been lined up. And we are fortunate today that the moderators themselves will speak about their respective sections. But what I'm able to speak today about is Telangana emerging as the pharma hub of Asia. And why we choose this topic, Telangana emerging as the pharma hub of Asia, is the way Hyderabad is located and the way Hyderabad as a state has been looking at the vertical is something which lot of the people in the industry do not know. But that is something which we have really looking forward with the presence of the Honorable Minister Sri K.T. Ramarao himself being present there, who is the Minister for Municipal Administration, Urban Development, Industries and Commerce and Information Technology as the chief guest for CCOB. We also will be having the presence of other dignitaries from the government of Telangana, which include the Principal Secretary himself, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan there, along with the Director Logistics, Rajender Gadiyam, who fortunately also is on the advisory board of the cold chain CCUP. We will also have Mr. Shakti Nagappa, who is leading the Pharma Cities project, along with other dignitaries. The Telangana emerging as a pharma hub of Asia is a panel which will be supported by FTCCCI. We are fortunate that this year every track has got the support from various agencies, and that is why this CCUB has become such an important event. For many to know that CCUB this year is also supported by Pharma Aero, which is an organization which is located in Brussels and has bringing all the stakeholders together. We also have support from many other organizations, directly and indirectly, apart from having the presence of our stakeholders, which Tariq had mentioned in terms of the airlines, shipping lines, trucking companies. But Telangana has by itself, been fortunate that during the year, for almost 10 months, the temperatures are ideal for the supply chain. So, in that backdrop, Telangana becomes one important area. Also, Telangana for many years has been fortunate to have the required expertise in terms of people from the logistics industry and supply chain being work for large organizations, and most of them are going to be present at this event. So it will be an opportunity in which any questions regarding infrastructure, any questions regarding the future plans from the government side will be clearly demonstrated and explained, and that will make also further investments come into the state. Also, we expect to see larger participation coming in this year from 20 odd countries, which is quite a number in the backdrop of what has happened in COVID, and we had restrictions from various governments and even flights being restricted because of the bubble flights. But as of today, while I'm speaking, we are assured of over 350 delegates who have already been registered with us, and the request for more has been coming to us. We are also creating in this event an opportunity for both active and passive suppliers to really demonstrate their products, and we are fortunate that most of them have accepted to be present in large numbers. So that will be the other area in which we will be able to debate and discuss the right solutions for the industry, and even look at what are the optimization solutions that we have in the whole process. So, with that, I will now request Dr. Ravi Prakash Mathur, who is going to lead the discussion on Pharma 4 digital technologies drive disruptive changes and smart data could help reduce losses. So, over to Dr. Ravi Prakash Mathur.
Yeah, thanks, Satish, for inviting me. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
You are very audible, sir.
Okay, okay. So I'm in transit right now, so I'll be joining on audio only. So I hope you please excuse me for that. Thank you, Satish, for setting the context up so beautifully, and also introducing the track that I would be speaking on. Uh, so technology is, like seen nowadays as something that can disrupt your business model. It can disrupt the business model not only of your own organization but also of the industry that you are a part of. Of course, everybody looks at technology for driving growth, for driving the top line, also in improving the bottom line, and eventually, everybody wants the same thing, that a better valuation for your organization, a better value proposition for your customers. And many a times technology is presented as some is a solution that will deliver all of this to you. So in this track we will kind of evaluate, we will examine, we will discuss, and we'll listen to thought leaders as to what role technology actually plays uh, in disrupting. Some very serious reflection needs to be done on this, because there are people who say technology in itself could be a disruptor. There is a contra point of view that simply says that technology is simply enablement of processes that are already there, and unless your basic core processes are there and you relook at your business design or your business model design, you won't really be disrupting anything. So one of the frameworks that I'll be putting on the table is called the ECRS, which is eliminate, simplify, reorganize, rearrange, uh, and uh, and and combine. Now these are lean methodologies. Maybe you can also add automate to it, because when we talk of technology, we often think about it as an automation. So automation, if it is driving productivity exponentially, then of course it can be disruptive, but otherwise it will be a linear change. So the entire business model, which I mentioned earlier, is a combination of the value to your customers, your set of customers, and your backend architecture. So it is the backend architecture where the value differentiation or your actual disruption of your supply chain can happen. So these are some of the thoughts that we will be exploring to the discussion. Thank you, Satish, and thank you to the Cold Chain Unbroken Forum for picking up this topic. And I welcome all of you and look forward in engaging with the audience on the event. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ravi Prakash Mathur. Really appreciate that you took out the time on a Saturday to give the insights and really set the context. We really look forward to the session because our founders ourselves are very keen, and Mr. Ramkumar Govindrajan will be on your panel as well. So I think I'm really looking forward for this session. And rightfully, you said, and this session is going to be immediately after the inaugural session. So I think it will be a packed house on that particular day. So all the best to you and for everyone who's on that panel as well. I will move next to Mr. Govind Rajan, who is a veteran in the industry. Govind Rajan has been one of a pioneer in the dangerous goods segment, apart from many things that he do. I know him for many ages as well. I've considered him as one of my mentors in terms of the dangerous goods handling. And I'm really happy that he is going to moderate this session. And I hand it over to Mr. Govind Rajan Basha.
Thank you, Sadish. I'm sure that I am audible to every one of you.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible? Very good.
You are very much
Uh,
audible, sir.
as far as the, as far as the session of the regulations is concerned, especially the special load. When we say special load, it is the dangerous goods, the perishable, so on and so forth. One of the issues that we meet in the industry is is regulations or facilitator or inhibitor? This is a question that is always in the minds of people. Many a time we feel regulations are more of a nuisance value. And second issue that comes as a industry player is whether the regulations is pushing up a cost. Then that definitely leads to cost of compliance and cost of non-compliance. So keeping these factors into consideration, I thought that the session should focus on the, the need for regulation, need for the right regulation, where do we stand, what are the challenges that we face, where we can move on. Second thing is on the cost of compliance. There are certain myth in the minds of people, this cannot be done, that cannot be done like that. Thereby, the industry is not felicitated. The industry is not in a position to do business as usual. As a matter of fact, the cost comes are looked at seriously. And the fact remains costs are going up because of certain assumptions by the players. So this is one topic which we thought that we can bring it out. Certain unwanted assumptions should be avoided. So we did the trade. We want the trade to grow. And the third point which I like to touch upon during that is what is in store, what is coming up in terms of regulatory changes in 2020 thereafter, and what are the regulatory challenges coming, especially on the issue of training, because we are getting into a new framework from 2023 January 1st. So that part also will be touched on. So when I spoke to you on these issues, we identified rather the stakeholders who can be in that. I hopefully get the regulatory. So I am sure that you should have got the confirmation. They indicated to me they will be confirming to you their participation. And also the stakeholders like the packing representative, the shippers representative, and also terminal representatives, operators representative, a combination of 4 or 5 people will certainly be in a position to bring out the best thoughts that is required for the industry. And what I spoke to you, which I like to reconfirm to you, is instead of each one of them presenting their views, it can be a panel discussion so that from one to one we can take the questions and we can bring out the best from all the 5 people. That's a suggestion. And if the panel, the other members feel no, it can be a different way, please let me know so that accordingly we will align it. Thanks, Satish.
Sure. So thank you, Mr. Govind Rajan. I think all your inputs have been taken into consideration. Uh, we have reached out to all the relevant stakeholders. So you will have pharma exporters surely on your panel. You will have the operator. You will have someone from the airlines. Even an insurance company will be there. And I'm looking forward to the
Yeah,
session
please.
personally, given the background that lithium batteries transportation also is a big subject for discussion.
That's
And
right.
anything else that you want to add, you can surely add, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Satish.
Thanks. So now we will move to an interesting subject that has always been in the mind, given in the background of the shipping lines, looking at changes in line of the IMO 2023. How to prepare for the coming changes and the need to know more. Nikhil Natkar, who's also my colleague now in Viz and in the past, I will ask Nikhil to probably share more information on the session. Over to you, Nikhil.
So, and Tariq, thank you very much for the curtain raise and the introduction. As Satish said, we've been colleagues now for the last couple of years, and it's been an absolute pleasure to see how this event has gone from strength to strength. It has only been possible with our supporters at the event itself, Logistics Insider, our customers, our government partners, our moderators, and all the people that attend the event and make it possible at the back. So thank you very much. I'd like to talk about the topic of IMO 2023, and of course give a little context to what the IMO 2023 is, for which I need to talk a little bit about what is the IMO itself. The IMO is an authority which works on safety, security, and environmental protection, and actually safeguards the carrier community and gives them framework in which to work for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So back in 2018, there were certain long-term goals that were set, and I think the goals were set to 2030, of which already two stages have been implemented. That is the IMO 2020 and the IMO 2023, which will become applicable next year. So the session will intend to demystify what the IMO 2023 is and the various indexes that the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, will measure shipping companies on. What we need to understand and remember is that 80% of global trade is moving by ocean mode. So whether it is containerized, conventional, 80% of trade moves by ocean transportation by volume and 70% by value. This mode of transport is also one of the most responsible for greenhouse gas emissions, and that is why the IMO has set out these standards. So what happened in 2020 was like a curtain raiser or a precursor to some of the changes and regulations that are going to be implemented in 2023. So the session intends to talk about those dashboards that the IMO is implementing, what some of the carriers themselves are doing, and how the regulations are actually going to impact capacity. We're going to talk about what the firm implementation dates are. We're going to talk about what the baseline was, which was set in 2008, and what the new baseline for this regulation is. Basically, by 2030, the IMO wants to reduce carbon emissions by 40%. It's a very, very tall order, but the governments of the world have signed up to this. And then, of course, the shipping community under the aegis of the IMO have then also subscribed to that, and they will be held accountable. Otherwise, things like existing vessels may not be allowed to ply. They might have to pay greater carbon taxes. And as we can imagine, a lot of this will impact the shipping community at large, which which includes the freight forwarding community, the BCOs, the intermediaries, and of course the eventual customers that we all are here to serve. So that's a little bit about the panel discussion. What we will do in the panel is, of course, take certain questions to certain people and then ask the other participants on the panel whether they have any additional views on that same question, and that's how we will flush out some of those discussions. So thank you very much, Satish, and I look forward to the panel discussion and working with the rest of the moderators during the 2 days of the event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nikhil. I'm also looking forward for the IMO session because it's an eye opener for many and what is in store in the days to come. So I think it's the right topic chosen. So I will quickly move on now to my good friend Keku Bomi Gazdar, who needs no introduction at all. And Keku has been in front of the important topic of cold chain for agro, where we are and what we can do. I think this was something which I've been discussing with Keku for many years now, and I'm glad that he's agreed to moderate this session. And no other person to explain to us on what the best options that are available. To over to you, Keku.
Thank you, Satish. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope I'm audible and clear to all.
Yes.
Let me begin first by thanking you, Satish, for putting this event together. As one of my earlier co-panelists mentioned, this event has grown from strength to strength over the year. And the fact of the matter is there is a clear focus on deliverables rather than discussions. And I think that's very important. Probably one of the takeaways from this would be to find out how exactly a roadmap can be placed on what needs to be done from various stakeholders. So apart from the focus on pharma, I think one of the things that we need to focus on is not just on the unbroken part of the pharma cold chain, but also for other products. And we don't need to completely refer to this as cold chain, but what I would refer to as appropriate temperature control for movement of different commodities as per requirements. Now, the way I would like to continue with the session is basically to engage on the movement of pharma and non-pharma, with preference of non-pharma, mainly to do with agro. I think this is a sector that we have not paid attention to as much as we would like to. All of you probably know that over the past year, there is a clear definition and requirement from the Prime Minister himself on the doubling of farmers' income, export of farming produce, etc. And no better time than during the COVID. Uh, Clearly, the air freight industry in this country stood together to ensure that, in spite of the various blocks that we had, in spite of all the challenges that as stakeholders we faced, I think all of us could be very proud that we had fresh food on our table no matter what. And I think this boils down to two things. One is, of course, the logistics behind the event, and more on the quality. And the reason I mention this is because the quality of produce that you received, or we all received, was intact. So, the session that I want to discuss with is not just on what happened during the past years and how we had um outside the box solutions to it, but I want to discuss mainly as looking forward, how do we look at the cold chain support, or the cool chain support, or the ambient temperature support for produce which is not having the same value as what pharma has. All right, we're talking low cost, high volume produce where every rupee matters. So how are we going to engage with the industry to come up to come up with some packaging solutions which are temperature controlled, and have this deliberated, so that we are talking for the millions and millions of farmers here who can effectively not just support produce within the country, distribute within the country, but also have the ambitious target of exporting out of the country. We've reached a stage in our businesses now across the country and probably across the world where we've got certain measures in place. And I'm looking forward to engaging with my fellow panelists to understand what can we do together as firm solutions to bring about this change comprehensively, cost effectively, and in a way that this can be a focus point apart from normal movement of cold chain. So this is from my side. Satish, the format can remain the same. We do a hard question answer sessions where we keep no topic untouched, and let's engage with both the audience and the panel as much as we can during the allotted time. That's from my side, Satish. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant, Keku. So, to give a larger clarity to the audience and to the rest of them, the event is clearly mentioned as a cold chain unbroken. But the pain with which this event started many years ago was that we wanted to save more lives with proper transportation. But this year we are aiming also in a larger sense. What can we do for the Indian farmer to really transport his produce in the right temperature at a low cost, like what Keku said? We are also touching people from Nasik as much as we are trying to touch people from Northeast. And it is rightly that we are doing it in Telangana for a reason, is that there's a larger part of the farmers' deaths that had happened in the past also from Telangana, and see how we can help. So I think it's a holistic approach, touching the PM Gati Shakti program to Krishi Udan program too, which Keku has been a part of it. So I'm really happy that Keku himself will be there to lead the discussion. And we are fortunate that we are having large exporters that who are evolving in this market. uh, being present at the event. So you have a very illustrious panel along with the airline stakeholders, and we will also include some bit of ocean transportation to see if we can further enhance the whole discussion. So I'm looking forward because this is close to my heart. I come from a farmer's background, born in Andhra and Telangana. So I think it's a great session and looking forward to it. Thanks, Keiko.
Thanks, Satish.
Thanks. So I will now move to to Mr. Ravi Kumar Tummalpalli, who's also a good friend of me. I have seen him on the other side of the table in his good days with Teva as an organization, and now coming to this side of the table, which is more in terms of the solution providing. And I thought, with his large experience of going global as well as local, sort of it, he can touch upon an important topic which many may not even know. Is the counterfeit medicines for the supply chain and the end user. In the past, also in the previous editions, we tried to bring in light, but we realized that we couldn't go to the depth of this subject. Ravi has been a part of those sessions as well. So I had requested Ravi himself to really lead this one. Thank you, Ravi, and over to you.
Thanks, Satish. Thanks a lot. And yes, as you rightly mentioned, I was fortunate to be there for the past three, four sessions. And I think last in one of these sessions, I was moderating an session on contract logistics. So I come with a background of pharmaceutical supply chain and logistics for more than 24 years. During this time, I had opportunities to handle both the domestic logistics, domestic distribution arena, and as well as for the international logistics functions as well. And what I see is basically a huge contrast. While we say that Indian pharmaceutical manufacturers are catering to the world and the pharmacy of the world, and we follow all the GDP norms, security norms required for US and Europe. But when it comes to the domestic distribution in India, we hardly follow. So, what I thought is there are a couple of things which we can really look at. We have a lot of policy makers in the sessions. We have a lot of supply chain and logistics heads of the organizations who will be participating. So, what I feel is where we need intervention in terms of counterfeit. We know very clearly that the major counterfeit medicines which are being identified are coming from developing markets like India, China, and the neighboring countries, not to name all of them. But this is a big menace which is being very rampant in the market. Uh, you know, proliferated by people who are very influential, and then they don't have a common ethics. For the patients and the common public, what impact, what grave consequences it brings to the common public. So, from that point of view, what I feel is technology is one area where we can bring visibility to the genuineness of the product and avoid counterfeit. And this actually, given the technology availability and the smartphones availability to the general public, we need to uh, give the access to the common public to ensure that whatever the medicine they are buying from the nearest chemist or the pharmacy is actually a genuine medicine, and there is no harm to consumption of those medicines. One. Second is basically from a policy framework point of view. US already has the CTPAT requirements for the last 15, 20 years. And every medicine which has been produced in India is basically certified by CTPAT from a security standpoint to ensure that the whole logistics and the supply chain is secured, and the manufacturers are aware about who are the service providers, who are the shipping lines, who are the airlines, who is going to handle these products, so that there is no intervention, or there is no external influence to the medicines which are being supplied to the US market. Why can't we do that similarly in the domestic market? Why can't we have regulations? Why can't we have policy frameworks which actually give security or confidence to the manufacturer and the common public that whatever medicine they are consuming is coming from the right source, right quality certified, and hence they don't have to worry about any counterfeit proliferation which is happening. So I think from these points, I would like to instigate thoughts from the fellow panel members, and see if we can really come out of it thoughts, ideas which we can recommend as a white paper or an policy framework to the government to take it forward, and also create a kind of an awareness in the common consumers of the medicines. So I feel that that's what could set the stage.
No, perfect. I think you have put it in the right perspective, both from a domestic point and an international point. And I think we've seen over the last event that the impact of not having the right medicines, and only the people who have lost lives of their brothers or sisters or mother or father would know the value of it more than anyone else. And second, you rightly mentioned about creating the awareness. I think that is important, that everyone is mindful of understanding that aspect of it. So I am surely looking forward to it. And if there's anything that I could do to make the session more meaningful, we will work hard as CCUB, Ravi, with you. And the white paper, what you spoke about, definitely, I think we should come out of it. And then I'll be happy if you lead that discussion as well. So I'm looking forward. Thank you for being on the Curtain Raiser show. And I will now go myself, since I'm moderating a few more sessions myself. So I will talk about the sessions that I'm going to moderate. So for all the audiences who are here to understand that we have put together 9 sessions together, of which my fellow moderators, I've spoken about most of the sessions that we've covered. And I'm going to cover the balance 3 tracks which are lined up. And one of the tracks that is very, very important is the theme new airport infra, new routes, and new initiatives will bolster pharma and perishable trade for the country. We have seen that India, apart from being a services market, also has been a forefront in terms of the pharmaceutical industry. And we see that there is a greater opportunity for the perishable trade to be also be booming, in the fact that we have the Krishi Udan program. So what we are going to do during this session is that India predominantly has been shipping cargo from 6 major airports, which are Delhi, Bombay, Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Ahmedabad. However, the cargo does not really originate from Delhi, Bombay, because the metro cities are already congested in a larger way and population find it. So cargo originates from markets like Nasik, Vishakhapatnam, and interiors of Kerala, as well as Madurai, Tamil Nadu, and some part of east, is which is not connected in the northeast sort of it. So what we are trying to clearly do in this is that how is the new airport infra developing in the country? India is close to now 100 plus airports. The number is larger. And what will happen with these airports in the context of the government really looking at airports like Goa, Nagpur, additionally Vishakhapatnam's new airport, and many other airports that are being privatized as well as sort of it. And how do we connect these routes into the new destinations in terms? What we mean by new destination specifically will be, today for pharma, Chicago is a major hub. But can Indian pharma market look at alternative airports, and can we bolster it? So we are fortunate that we've got airports like DFW Airport and a few other airports who are not only sponsors but also are coming to the event. So we will discuss that part of it. We will also discuss during the session what can we do for the perishable industry, because perishable industry cannot afford high freight. But even a reduction in the trucking and increase their shelf life by reducing transit time is another discussion that we will have during this particular session. So that is to give you a little more insight on it. The other subject that has been very close to my heart in the track number 8 that we are going to discuss is the theme active and passive packaging, what is coming in the future. Many years ago, people did not know what is active and passive, but there is something now known as even the hybrid, option that has come up. So we realize that with global warming, temperatures not just going over 45, but and Middle East touching over 50. In the recent past, we've also seen temperatures in some parts of the country crossing 49 to 50 degrees in the peak summer, which basically means the pressure to maintain 2 to 8, minus 20, and 15 to 25 is becoming more challenging, because at an ambient temperature, it is much easier to maintain. But as the temperatures go up, it becomes extremely difficult. So we are fortunate that our partners, packaging companies like Vacutech, like SkyCell, like CSafe, like Softbox, like the Plus Technologies, like the Embasilos, and many other organizations which are in this area are participating, and very senior resources from the industry are present to not only talk about what major changes are coming up in that sphere. And also, since these packaging solutions don't come at a price that which is not comparable to a normal thermocol based packaging, so I think it will be a great discussion with very good panelists, and I will be moderating that session as well. And the last track that we would want to really get focus on is the track called Control Tower Supply Chains for the Future. What does this track really mean is that today, if you look at any airport in the world or any seaport, it clearly talks about an air traffic control tower, or called the ATC. But today, as far as logistics is concerned, you don't see ATC type of model with everyone. There are one or two companies which adopt such a model, or there are organizations which are looking at it, but we do not have clear clarity on what it. So during this panel discussion, we will have people who are doing it in the trucking sphere. So we are fortunate to have panelists who are doing a control tower model, to someone who is not using it but for looking forward it. So what are the tangible benefits out of the control tower? What are the prerequisites that a control tower mechanism will really look at? We will also discuss on the aspects of what efficiency will lead to in terms of a strong case for control towers. And then we will conclude in that session of saying what are the recent technologies needed for implementation of a supply chain control tower, and what can we do. So we will have very senior people from the industry who will be brought in to talk about this subject clearly. And we are not a subject matter, but what we realize is it's a matter that needs to be discussed, and also bring out more thought process, and see if in the coming years this becomes a larger point of discussions when we talk to partners, to see how we can integrate all these together. Because today you will realize that there is not one or software or one technology which is used in the seaports and the airports. So I think that will be the last part of it in terms of the panel discussion. But I think these 2 days that we are looking at it are subjects which are absolutely relevant to the current industry, and also in light of the event last year happening virtually, where we couldn't really meet in person. And I'm a strong believer that when you meet people in person, the interactions are far superior than being on a Zoom or a team. So thanks to one logistics insider for putting the curtain raiser together, and bringing the moderators together to create that sort of a momentum for CCUB 2022. It is only on an invite event. So fortunately, this year we have accommodated more number of people to the event than what we did in the past. In the past, we could only accommodate 250. We've gone beyond to increase it to 350, but we had to restrict it to 350 at this point of time. But I only hope in the years to come, CCB will move to the next level, given that the world is looking at India. The world is looking at India clearly taking a forefront in terms of the pharmaceutical and the perishable industry, in the forefront of what is happening across the globe in terms of the war-like situation that we are seeing. So I think CCB will be an industry leader in terms of not only the cold chain, not only the pharma, not only the perishable thing, but in many things, because we will be able to produce white papers and take government initiative. And with this, I will hand it over now to Tariq for further comments on the curtain raiser. Tariq, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, sure. Yeah, so I was saying that I have been listening to all the moderators, and I think all of you have very beautifully, set the context for CCB 2022. And a big thank you to each one of you for introducing us to all the tracks that will adorn the event. And there is no doubt about it that this event will live up to the hype. And with that, I would not like to waste any more of your time on a Saturday, for which Satish sir has already apologized a couple of times. So, but I would, however, like to take a moment to thank our sponsors for entrusting us. A big thank you to our platinum partners, SkyCell and Emirates Sky Cargo. Our gold partner, DFW Airport. Our silver partners, GMR Cargo and Mohawk Global. Our dinner partner, Worldwide Flight Services. Networking partner, Turkish Cargo and SFC Cold Chain. Also, I would like to thank Adani Airports, Celebi, Wizfleet, and Vacutech. A special mention goes out to our association partners, ICFA, FTCCI, and Pharma Aero. With that, I'd like to bring down the curtains for this virtual session. Thank you once again. A big thank you to all of you for joining. And for any more information, please visit ccub.co.in. And we hope to see you in Hyderabad. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As the world emerges from the pandemic, life is starting to go back to normal. However, we continue to see empty shelves and frequent out-of-stock messages, reminding us of the persisting supply chain disruptions because of geopolitical uncertainties and a looming threat of another variant that may spread globally. In 2022, industry has had to realign its business approach to work in the new normal. Join us on 15 and 16th of September 2022 at Novotel Hyderabad Airport for the Cold Chain Unbroken 2022. 4 sessions on new airport infra, new routes and new initiatives will bolster pharma and perishable trade for the country. Pharma 4.0, digital technologies driving disruptive changes and smarter data could help reduce losses. Latest legislation on dangerous goods, perishables and regulatory framework for air and ocean. IMO 2023, how to prepare for the coming changes and the need to know more. Cold chain for agro, where we are and what more can be done. Control tower, supply chain of the future. Active and passive packaging, what's coming in the future. Challenges created by counterfeit medicines for the supply chain and end user. Telangana emerging as the pharma hub of Asia. To request an invite for the event, visit www.ccub.co.in.